and more of their life. They were more cut off from supernatural or things that were outside of oneself.
Sure.
They were forced into this existential crisis, you know, as being alone. And that, to me, that speaks a little bit differently than what you were talking about concerning humankind and their lack of responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, you know.
I have a hard time personally with the notion of everybody being forced and our lack of responsibility. It's like we're saying, oh, we're all victims, and then we all fall on our backs and kick our heels and basically quit. There's, I think the tendencies in Darwin and all of this are there, as you say, but then if it sounds to me like what you said was that Marx kind of threw into the pot this technique of blame. And everybody said, oh great, now we finally got what we need, we don't have to have responsibility. And so then all this, then we're blaming Darwin, we're blaming Marx, we're blaming Freud, we're blaming, you know. Basically we're stuck with ourselves, we don't have to blame.
Sure.
And if your analysis ends up saying that we're all passive, then you're using Marx's own blame technique.
Just the opposite paradox of the Grail legends. The stories were told at a time in Europe where the church had taken so many people from their mud wattles and sent them to Byzantine and the magic of the Near East. And they had seen a land that wasn't despoiled by constant ravaging, and they had gotten in touch with some physical beauty and some spiritual beauty, and then you can't take the kid back to the farm. You know, these stories came out at a time when people were very lost and disillusioned, and it's as if their psyche was saying, no, this isn't all there is. You know, and that's what I see the relevance of what's happening today with the technological. People are feeling enslaved by all this information. You know, and the surfing the web becomes overwhelming at times, and keeping up with your email and so much that it's almost like everybody feels the speed up of time, and there's actual scientific background for what's happening, the photon stream that we're in, and there's things predicted that have already shifted because of people's rising of spiritual consciousness, in my opinion, that we aren't going to have the complete polar shifts and the floods if you're into some of these predictions that have gone on. What was really big is already being toned down because so many people are evolving. And in my belief frame, we are all evolving at the cellular level, from oratronic to metatronic, which is a finer energy. We're getting rid of more of our dense materialism. And if you read some of the far out things that my husband has, this idea of Parzival coming from the ET connection, it's gone from Pleiadian now to it's not the Pleiadian, it's another Sirius, yes, Sirian, and that our planet is actually going to, our whole solar system is going to be moved, and that there's things, you know, there were people that were worrying about the great cataclysm that was going to come with this huge meteor, and then that was averted, and there's all these, if you want to worry, you know, there's a lot out there of the gloom and doom of what it was predicted for so long, of mass destruction of life on this planet. And now it's almost into a belief in magic, you know, like a fairy tale, that people are, and it's coming not just with those who are reading some of these things, but anybody that goes to movies or watches television. They're having all these stories. There's something I saw previews on the X-Files a couple weeks ago of this Millennium 2000 about the gateway with the ETs, and it's just, you know, it's rampant. And I don't know how many here saw that 3 series of the X-Files. I only saw 2 of the 3 programs, where they had the Roswell incident in New Mexico in 1947, and they had the ET beings were not from outer space. They had these German scientists brought at the end of World War II that did genetic experiments on American people, and that the American government was in collusion and had built these extraterrestrial people, and the abductions were being done by our own people, so to speak. And they were taking genetic material, and it was the rationale why they did it was to keep the life force alive if there was nuclear holocaust, that they would have some beings that could survive in space.
John?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you, you were talking about the how do you pronounce entelechy? Is there some relationship between that and the Celtic idea of the geist, or geese, the boon,
I don't know enough about Celtic myths to answer.
okay.
Really.
Because I've always
What is
wondered
the
about
geist?
that, and I
Maybe
thought just in case.
Tell me what the geist is. Do you know?
Well, who knows
anybody
here
know?
about the geist? It's the personal fate that is both the boon and curse of what one's destiny is to be, what is to unfold out of one's life.
I see. Well, I think Spangler has made this point in The Decline of the West, that every culture has its own sort of idea about what they think destiny is. And he contrasts at least three of them. He says, if you think of the Arabian idea, Kismet, that the fate comes directly from God. Okay, that is the ultimate ideological ground, the ultimate cause for what befalls you. And it's mysterious. Reason can't grapple with those motives. So we get this whole problem of the book of Job as a kind of attempt to work out that destiny idea. Then the Greek destiny idea is Moira. And this differs from the Arabian in that Moira was a kind of fatalism that was implicit in the structure of the cosmos. And even the gods are subordinate to this fate. It's built into the cosmos. Heroic deeds occur on the stage, but nonetheless, ultimately, the triple goddess has the final say in this. She's the Moira, the fate. So then, in the northern European West, I think we have one of the earliest pronouncements of this Western mythology of the individual in the Germanic idea of destiny as Wirt. It's spelled W-Y-R-D, from which we get our word weird, and hence the Weird sisters in Macbeth, who announce his fate to him. But what they're really doing is holding a mirror up to him, because the Wirt, I believe it first appears in Beowulf, is the idea that fate comes from within. It's a function of the soul, the unfolding of the soul's potentialities. And those potentialities are built into the structure of the individual soul. And the external events can either mirror them, exaggerate them, bring them out, repress them, but it won't fundamentally change the destiny. One way or another, it'll find an outlet. But it's in there. It's like canalized energy. And Jung's whole concept of the individuation process is directly unfolds out of this, as does the Grail mythology. So this whole idea of, I don't know what the Celtic, I haven't come across the Celtic guys, so I don't know what the difference is between the Germanic, the Scandinavian weird, or weird. But it would be interesting to know that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was intrigued with your sketching of the transformation of the Grail myths in the age of exploration.
Oh.
And I certainly see the sense of quest being transposed. Instead of seeking Grail, I'm seeking India. But in those moments of historical transformation, when one mythic system is sort of dropped into a new context, I also wonder a lot about what's lost. And it seems to me that if we look at the forces that were loose, that later became the technology that is making our lives quite comfortable here, it didn't have much to do with releasing the reins, of being guided by forces outside of self or ego or convenience.
Sure.
And so it seems to me that there was something quite important that was lost. It has something to do with compassion. It has something to do with giving, but it also has something to do with it being autonomous forces, whether they're natural or divine or psychological, in which we are enmeshed and to which we have to submit at some point if we want to reach the Grail path.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Like you mean like a suppression of the kind of